first thing I'm going to do is bring up Smart Notebook, a file. You should have a link on your desktop, or you should have one in your Windows menu where it has all of the applications. If you do not have one of those, and again, I'm talking about at school, and the reason I'm doing this training at school is because I have a Promethean panel there. I don't have one at home. We'll talk later about how to get Smart Notebook at home at the end of this meeting. So let's go over some just basics about Smart Notebook, because a lot of teachers were saying, I want a, I'll turn off my video, you don't need to see me. I want a whiteboard that I can use. Well, Smart Notebook slides can do that for you. So over on the far left, and I'm just going to draw arrows so you can see where I'm talking about. Over on the far left, there is a 5 different little tabs. And if you click on one of those tabs, the first one at the top is called the slide sorter. You can add more and more slides if you wish. There are 2 buttons, one to add slides, one to delete slides, right above it. So you can see that if I click the one with the green plus sign, it adds a slide. If I take the red one, it deletes the slide. Pretty simple. The next tab has to do with a content gallery that has pictures in it, lesson activities, lined paper if you want lined paper and you're trying to teach kids how to print or handwrite. All of this can be found in here, and we'll be glad to spend some time with you to walk you through on how to use that. There's a place to attach files, documents, spreadsheets, whatever it is, so that you might be using them during the lesson that you can pull up from the files. This will help you define line width and pen ink color, fill effects, and so on. And the last tab have some things to do like with a lesson recorder, remember that, activity builders, searching for videos, and so on. The first 2 are what I use most of the time. Let's take a moment and let's focus up here at the top as well. There's a few things that you should be aware of. One is, and I'm going to draw it right now, I just drew straight up, is this picture of a computer screen. And you'll notice there is a little black arrow there. That means I can expand it open, and I can do a couple things with this page you're looking at. Most often I want to go full screen, and you can see I have none of the controls available, but they are now on this tiny little menu that I've just dragged around. And it has some dots where I can open it up and pick different pen colors, different styles of pen from here when I'm actually in full screen. Okay? So you do have this here available to you. To get out of full screen, there is a button that looks right there in that mini menu, and it takes us back so we can see all of our tools. Some of the other tools that are important, number one, is the idea of the selector. So up in this area, I'll go back to my pen, up in this area, the arrow is your selector. If you want to be able to move things around, you need to be on the selector. It's your mouse. So you can move things around, you can throw things around with that selector chosen. You'll notice when I click pen, I get a menu that pops over here that tells me I have a little arrow. I can pick different styles of pen, from creative pens to disappearing ink, which is part of the magic pen, to a shape recognition pen, which is basically one of my favorites because I've drawn perfect shapes ever since I learned how to use this. And it made lessons so much easier when I could draw awesome shapes, the shape recognition pen. So anytime you click one of these little menu items, you will see this menu that's associated with it open up. So if I pick the shapes, you'll notice that I can pick different shapes. So if I want a circle, I can draw a circle. If I want a square, I can draw a square. And you might want to use those for certain things. Let me add a page and show you what I mean. So I will draw real quickly a word, let's say your lower grades, and you're using the at sound, and I might want to then cover it up with a shape. So I'm going to grab this rectangle. I'm just going to draw this rectangle about it. Of course, it's not hidden, as you can see. But I do know that I had the word first and then the shape. The shape is sitting on top of the hat. So up over at the top, there's a paint can. I just clicked on it, and I can pick a fill color, whatever one I'd like, and click on that square. You'll notice now that it's hiding it. I can grab that selector again, that arrow, and I can move it and reveal things as we go on. You can have it do these reveals automatically on clicks and things like that as well, like you do in Google Slides, PowerPoint. But that's something that we train on later. Right now, I'm just going to tease you with some of the things that it can do. And if at any point you have the opportunity to click on this actual little creature up there, you want to take a look at him, because some really cool things happen when you click on the creature. So understand you have different shapes, of course. You have different kinds of text and fonts that you can use. If you're sitting at a computer keyboard, all you have to do is start typing and the words will appear on the slide. Of course, there's an eraser. You have a line tool. So if you need to make different graphic organizers using the line tool, you can do things like that as well. But maybe you're already getting the idea that you're watching me via Zoom and I'm using a whiteboard and I'm standing in front of it. You're not looking at me. I turned off my camera. But you are looking at what I'm doing as far as this lesson goes. But the other beauty of this, and I told you, is that you don't need Screencastify. You have unlimited recording right here in Smart Notebook. And I'd like to show you how that happens. Now, coming back over here with my pen, I'm going to point to where we're talking about. Right here, that's a horrible line. Right there, there's a little camera. It does not default to that spot, so you need to learn how to do it. And that's coming up here to the cog or the gear in the upper right-hand corner. Remember to hit your selector, and let's hit the gear and open this up. Normally, and I'm just going to remove that so you can see here that in this, these are all of the actions that you can add to the top, the things that you use most often. And one of those might be Smart Recorder. So all you have to do is drag that with your finger, drag it up to the toolbar at the top, and let go. And the recorder is installed up at the top. And then, this is where the magic happens, you can start doing a lesson. So I'm going to show you that lesson from a different notebook file that I've already put up. For example, maybe you've already created your ELD lessons by the day, and you've saved them on your Smart Notebook. You can have a whole unit's worth all in one set of slides to be able to teach your lesson. Or maybe you have a math lesson, you want to record it as you go along. So let me show you how that happens. All you got to do is click on the screen recorder or Smart Recorder, and a menu will pop up. The first time it's going to ask permission to use your microphone and your camera. You give it permission. But the big red button, as soon as you click it, whatever you are looking at that's forward on your desktop, and in this case, it's my Smart Notebook, it will start recording that lesson. I'll just do a quick, maybe 20-second recording to show you how. Hit record, and we are now recording the lesson. So we walk through the lesson. All right, kids, let's have a little chat. Why do people participate in government? I might open up the student text, so on. We might read something together and then share digitally. All right, what are some words that you had struggled with in what we just read? What words do you know? What do you don't know? Use your pen tool because you're standing in front of the board, and you can put this right in here. I don't know what words were in the story, to be honest, but maybe it's hurricane. I don't know what words. I know hurricane, but I don't know the word government. And so you can actually start sorting this out. Let me hit stop. It immediately generates this movie. You can rename it so you can remember ELD Unit 1, Lesson 1. Hit save. It's going to render this. It might, depending on how long your lesson is, the longer it will take for it to render. I did something really short, so it's going to happen quick for training purposes. I'm going to click the button that says play recording because I want to preview it. And I'm going to click play here. I'm hoping you're getting this vision then, is that you can not only present live with a whiteboard that you can easily write on if you're standing in your classroom, but you can record those lessons while you're doing it live and have it available for later, or you can record them ahead of time and use that as part of your asynchronous instruction. So if we were looking at the rest of this lesson, you know, things that I've already demonstrated, I have some pictures here. Let me go to full screen. All I did was copy and paste pictures right from Benchmark and put it in here. I have different wonderful little, those shapes that are hiding things that I want to remove. Remember to pick your selector, not your pen. Things that I copy and paste the text right from Benchmark so that I could remember what I want to do and make my lesson flow quickly without looking at a TG, teacher's guide or teacher's edition to help guide me in the lesson. You know, I want my ELD lesson done in 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And I have it all set up in my slides. Stuff to work with the kids. And in just a few moments, I'll show you the Smart Learning Suite online. I can actually give this to a kid to do independently or with others that I can group with Smart Learning Suite online. This becomes really your one-stop shop for all these things that we've been complaining about. Remember again, I want an online whiteboard. You have it in Smart Notebook. I want to be able to screencastify, but they're only giving me 5 minutes. You have unlimited recording in Google, or not Google, excuse me, in Smart Notebook. One of the other things that happens wonderfully in Smart Notebook, and I mentioned a little bit ago, take a look at that little creature monster guy up on that toolbar, because you can create awesome activities to tie in and reinforce maybe what you've already done in the lesson. You can do this whole class by having them speak in on your Zoom meeting, or through Smart Learning Suite online, they can actually do this independently. And so if they get it right, the word comes off the list. If they get it wrong, it kicks it back and they get to try again and still work on those skills. Using the Smart Notebook lessons that you develop. So I have that ELD lesson that I shared just a moment ago. Right here, it had the game in it, had, you know, the links to the student textbook and things we can write on. We can get that to kids. And that happens out of our Google Drive. So let me go to Google Drive. And to do this beautiful thing, if you've ever wondered about all the things you can do from Google Drive, by clicking on the new button on the left, you see docs and sheets and slides, but there is the more, and the more is important. And as you scroll all the way down past those normal Google apps, you're going to see something called Smart Learning Suite. Now I'm going to click on that and hop into it. Hopefully you're not trying to do this while I'm doing it, because you're going to get lost pretty quick. And now I have some things that I can do from Smart Learning Suite online. I can import a resource. I'm going to show that to you. I can bring in a YouTube video. I can create a new page like a whiteboard, okay, helps, or a title page, help me introduce it. I can do a shout it out, which is a sort of brainstorming activity that when I create this, kids on their devices can help share their ideas during a brainstorming activity. There's responses. If you're asking questions and you want to do some formative assessment, that's available. There's some game activities. They have some other ready-made activities for looking at prior knowledge, questions, and reflection. But I'm just going to focus right now on importing a resource. And that resource happens to be on my device. I can put it in my Google Drive, and if I'm working at home, I would put it in my Drive so that I can access it anywhere. But I'm at work, and I put it on my desktop, so I'm going to click from my device. And on my device, on the desktop, I have that ELD Smart Notebook file. Let me just bring it in. So this takes a little bit sometimes. So if you're going to try to do this with the kids in the class, you know, not like I'm doing right now, of course, understand it's best to have it set up ahead of time. It's generating that whole set of files. The more slides you have, the longer it will take. So it's open now, and we're out on the internet, but we're in Smart Learning Suite, and we're in editing mode. So it opens up where I can edit any of those slides that I had created. If I want to add more text, I can come up above the slide, click the text, and I can type something. I can change the size of that so actually people can see it on a Chromebook, right, or on an iPad. So I can change the size of the font and make it bigger. I change the color. I can get rid of it altogether, delete it. So you can edit anything that you want. You can add pictures if you want to add some pictures that are on your computer to any of these slides. I suggest, as a good practice, that you have your lesson complete before you bring it in to Smart Learning Suite. And then you click Finish Editing. Now your Smart Learning Suite has a class edit with it. So one of those is this link that you can copy and put it in. There's one for students that you can let them work at their own pace. But that's fine if you want them to work at their own pace. But better yet is to have them join your class. And I don't know if you saw where I clicked. I'll come back to it. So I clicked on where the heads were, and there's a push out arrow, and it says, okay, kids, go to hellosmart.com and put in this class code. That's something you can put into Google Classroom. Go to HelloSmart, enter this code. So Rin10 has done that. So I picked out Rin10. He's going to go to HelloSmart. And as all things tech, we pray he loads up, right? And he's automatically in because he was in for my last lesson. But if he had left the class, he would have to sign back in. He would join a class using when he puts in the number, but every time he comes back, he doesn't have to use that number. He'll see the teacher's name, join the class, and see what activity the teacher has ready. So I'm going to sort of split the screen so you know at one time, okay? So on the left is my screen. This is what the teacher is showing. On the right is Rin10, the student. At this moment, this lesson is teacher paced. So if you click on the heads, you're going to see it says lesson pacing teacher, or I can click on student. If I click it on student, the students can go through the slides at their own will, which might be important at some point. Depends on how you develop the lesson. So I'm going to keep it on teacher pacing for right now. And you'll note that when I change slides, it changes it automatically on the student's device as well. That means they can't go in other places. Of course, they could hop on another tab on Google and goof around. You have no control of that, and you can't see it happening. But you can control the pace of this. Now, here's where it gets real fun. And let me just come full swing here, or full screen, not swing. That this page, instead of asking kids for words they don't know, it might just be better to have them add what they don't know. And so when I click on the heads again, you'll notice I have two choices. I can, one, make this slide an individual handout for every kid in the class, and they can write in their own words they know and don't know. Or below that, I can create a collaborative workspace, which I can't do right now. I have one student who's attending my class. But if I had 20 kids in there, I can decide how big the groups are and have kids work collaboratively on this one slide from wherever they are located. So I'll make this an individual handout activity right now. And as I do that, students, once they start using it, will appear here. I will come over here and you will see Rin10 right in front now. He clicks start. And Rin10 can interact with this slide on his own. So he can click the text button if he wants, and he can type in words that he knows. He can change font size and so on. He can add in pictures as well if that was part of the lesson. He can pick a pen. He wants to pick the pen and he can write on it or have something he can write with. Here's a word I don't know during COVID. And then he can click done. But before I have click done, I'm going to come back here to the teacher side. You'll notice Rin10 is in this shape, I don't know what you call it, an oval. And all the other students would be seen here as well. But when you click on it as a teacher, you can see exactly what they're doing live. When Rintin clicks on it as done, and let me come back to him, and he clicks done, it changes for you as a teacher as well, puts a green check mark. And then when you end the session, it saves this file, not as a Smart Notebook file, but as what they call an SLS file, and it stores this data. So you have evidence of whatever the students have done as evidence of their learning. So again, we can come all the way down to the last one. I can make it teacher directed, but I can also get to the game. And when you hit the game, guess what? Kids can also go play the game when you get to that slide, and they can do it only when you open that slide, unless it was on teacher pacing. So Rintin is actually the one playing this game and reinforcing whether he knows singular or plural nouns. This does not record the evidence of whether they got it right, but it does reinforce whatever it was if this was part of your lesson. So that's Smart Learning Suite Online, and it takes that to answer the question that was asked a few minutes ago, that whole idea of they need each other. You need Smart Notebook, and you need to create your lesson and then import it into Smart Learning Suite from your Google Drive so that you can make it interactive with your students.